In my 10 years as a designer and a design manager, I've taken over 200 interviews. So I wanted to make a video about the things that I look at when I'm interviewing a designer at all the levels. And while I was researching for this video, I saw that a lot of people have already talked a lot about this topic. So I wanted this video to be a little different. I did not want to stick to those 5-6 tips for interview, but instead focus on my lens of what qualities am I looking at when I'm interviewing somebody. So hi, my name is Ujjwal and you're watching Ujjwal X Design. The first things I look at when I'm interviewing somebody is clarity in communication. Now, communication is of course a very, very key metric when you're getting hired, but the clarity part in your communication is even more critical. Now, as a designer, one of your key jobs is to simplify problems, is to simplify statements, is to simplify complex situations. And when you're doing that, the key skill that gets you through that process is how you communicate about that problem, how you talk about it. So I've made another video where I've talked about communication at stretch, but that clarity in communication is something that I always look for. So when you're presenting, when you're talking about your background, whenever you're answering any kind of question, how you're forming those sentences is very, very important. So at least one thumb rule that you can apply is the common interview questions that you get, at least prepare those beforehand, so that when you're talking about it during the interview, it's not the first time that you're answering that question. So that's one kind of preparation that you can do at least. And the other part is, of course, practice presentations as much as possible, because when you're presenting your work to as many people as possible, you will start to find a more clearer approach to how you present it. Now you may ask that what are these common interview questions that we should prepare for? Now I could make a separate video about it, but let's make it even more interesting. You comment below the questions that you have been asked during an interview, and I will answer in the comment section of how I would have answered that question. That will get us more questions answered, and after a while you will have a bunch of questions to go down in the comment section, and we'll have a repo of question and answers. The second thing that I look at during an interview is if you're a good storyteller or not. Now, storytelling itself could be a separate video because it's a huge topic, but I'll try to cover it briefly here. What I mean by you being a good storyteller is, have you kept me hooked to what you're saying or not? Have you kept it engaging enough or not? And usually whatever you're talking about, it could be a project or it could be a backstory, should have a start, a journey, and then the climax or the finale. And you build anticipation for that finale. So people are waiting to know what happened. And of course, after that, there's resolution, and you can read about storytelling even beyond this, and I can make a separate video. But that is one point which really helps you segregate yourself from the rest of the applicants. If you're able to talk and tell the story in the most convincing fashion. And for that to happen, you also need to be passionate about what you're talking about. So that's also one thing. If you're presenting a work that you really, really believe has solved a problem, you'll be able to tell that story much better than another project that you are not super convinced about. Another very important thing that I look at is intent and preparation. If you're somebody who has high intentions of joining the company or wanting this role, I would prefer you over somebody else who does not have that kind of intent. Now, how do you show intent? Make sure you have the answer ready when you are asked why do you want to join the company. And the reasons could be a lot of things. It could be the culture of the company. So for that, you need to be aware what kind of culture that company has in place at this point. Or maybe you can look up what the design team is like, and who are the design leaders, and who are the people that you'll be working with, and that excites you to join that company. So there you can build intent. And for that intent to naturally happen, I think you should be first convinced if you want to do this or not. And if you're convinced yourself, you'll be able to convince the other person. In terms of preparation, I think if you can just find the mission or the goal that company has, and you can find that through their website or whatever media presentations that they've done, or the people of that company have done, or if there is any video where the CEO is talking about the company, because CEOs would always talk about the company very passionately. So they would talk about the product that they have built and what that product is trying to solve. If you look at all of that and come prepared, that this is why I think I will add to whatever mission the company has, that will show that you're prepared and you have high intent, and you will be preferred over somebody who does not have these qualities. Building upon intent, I think an interview is also a great opportunity for you to ask questions and know about the company better. And I love candidates who ask a lot of questions right after the interview is over. So what questions can you ask? You can ask about the team structure. You can ask about the design process, that the team is following. You can ask about the company mission and goals. I mean, you'd of course research that on your own, but it would be lovely if you could get an insider insight on what the company is planning to do in the future. And what this makes me feel is that you are somebody who wants to ask more questions, and a designer should always ask more questions. So that's anyway a quality that you should possess. And of course, there are core skills that I look for in every designer, which is your visual design skills, your problem solving skills, the way you do user research. And problem solving is something that you will be tested upon during the interview. It could be through take home assignment, it could be through a whiteboarding exercise, or it could be through a live problem statement that I could give the candidate if I see that that person is struggling somewhere. So these things will always be part of the interview. So make sure that you're mentally prepared for these scenarios. And the last thing, I want to know how you answer questions that you do not know the answer to. And there's so many different ways of going about this, but this is where I see a lot of creativity happening. You could fake and struggle and try to do all that, or you could be completely honest and say you don't know about this topic, or you could try to logically reason it and try to solve it instantaneously again. So it just gives me an interesting color of the candidate, and sometimes it helps me understand how would they navigate in a difficult situation. So it's just a cherry that I look for. Of course, there are much more to interviews, and I would love to have your questions, in the comment section. As I mentioned before, if you want me to answer them, just put down in the comments, and I'll try to answer each comment separately, and I'll try to answer it from my perspective of how I would have answered that question. That's it for this video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching it till the end. If you found this video useful, do subscribe to this channel and share your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks a lot and have a nice day.